welcome to a yet another one-on-one Seco session. To introduce Seco is a new intriguing platform for the youth which promotes micro-learning by focusing on upskilling through multiple topics. It is a video-first micro-learning based community. Our platform is driven by some of the credible industry experts and professionals who create meaningful content for our existing and growing 90k plus user database. We have with us today Vatsala Chaudhary. We are super excited to have her with us today. How are you this evening, Vatsala?
Hi guys, I'm good. Thank you so much for asking. I hope you are doing fine as well.
So I'm totally good, Vatsala, and I'm glad to hear that you're also safe and sound during these turbulent times. And you know by now what Seco is, and now we would love to know about you. So the stage is all yours. Vatsala, please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, guys, for having me here. Giving me the platform to share my experience, my design journey with, like you said, 90k users outside there. So to begin with, I started my journey 3.5 years back. I started as an intern, as a UX intern with Future Group, and then I got the full-time job there. I built a lot of products there. I worked on building an ecosystem for Future Group, and later on I moved to Ixigo, worked a couple of times there, and worked on the SpiceJet platform, building consumer facing product for them. And then moving forward, I joined Khatabook, and it's been a year and a half I'm with Khatabook. I have built more than 40 plus features in KB now, and I helped in building the design team there, and currently I'm taking care of two pods, basically growth and engagement and financial services. So yeah, that's all about me.
That totally justifies your title as a thought leader. I mean, in such a short time frame, you have gained so much just in 3.5 years, and so much of experience, so much of exposure. And at one place, I heard you create more than 40 platforms, I believe. So yeah, that is very, very inspiring and as well as thrilling to know something like that. And we would love to deep dive into your journey today and gain as much insights as we can for the youth today. So Vatsala, to start with this one-on-one session, we have this rapid fire round in which we will be throwing some questions at you regarding your hobbies and interests. So you will have at max 5 seconds to answer each question. So don't keep us waiting. So let's begin with the rapid fire.
Okay, sure.
So Vatsala, the first question coming your way. One known personality you would like to be mentored by is?
Hardik Pandya.
Hardik Pandya. What would you like to know from him?
Don't get confused with the Hardik Pandya. Hardik Pandya is a UX designer. He's leading the design team in Academy. So as a mentor, I look forward to him many times. Yeah.
All right. I thought that you're also a passionate cricketer. So. All right. Moving on to the second question, Vatsala. That one baking dish that would make you the master chef.
If I made perfect chocolate cake for now, because I have been I'm just starting into baking. So the latest target, I want to make perfect delicious chocolate cake. Yeah.
I love chocolate. My mouth is already watering. All right. So next question is that one book that changed the way you look at things.
So right now, like I said, I'm reading a book called Invisible Women, and I'm learning a lot of things, and it's very eye-opening for me. Very small things, how we ignore women in terms of design. So yeah, that's an interesting book I'm reading, and I guess got a lot of learning from that. Yeah.
And you are a perfect role model as to how women should learn and grow. So we'll be definitely looking up to both your profile as well as the book, Vatsala. All right. So the fourth question of this round is the known personality you wish could be your neighbor.
Known personality. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's a difficult one. Very known person, personality. Okay, let's say Hardik Pandya. The other one.
All
It's
right,
really
you're clever. All right. So moving to the last question of this round, Vatsala, and this is like the signature question that we have, and we ask each and every thought leader. So that one lesson you learn from life and tell every other person about.
Okay, so specifically in my career, I would say there's one learning I had is be open-minded, be open for feedback. That's where you grow and learn a lot of things. That's one learning. Even I wanted to share with everybody else who are want to come in this profile and all that, right? So always be open-minded and be okay if somebody is giving you feedbacks.
Yes, and I totally agree. In a profession like this, where there is a lot of creativity involved, you of course have to keep everything open, from your mind to your heart, everything. Totally
Yeah.
agreed, and that's a very beautiful lesson, Vatsala. So that is all for the rapid fire, and let's proceed with the Q&A. We have designed the questions in certain manner that we can, gain some inspiration and insights from your journey as a UX designer. So, proceeding with the Q&A. So, Vatsala, the first question is that what is the main job role of a UX designer?
Okay. So the main role of a UX designer is to look for the needs of the users, at the same time meet the requirements of the business, try to combine them and find a perfect solution, and build an interface, find a design solution in such a way that it's best for both the worlds. And by what I mean by user needs, basically trying to solve their day-to-day life problems, and yet in some way that can benefit business as well. Yeah, so meeting both the requirements is the kind of role UX designer performs. Yeah.
All right, all right. So today, basically, we see that there is a lot of snags that happen on many websites, especially the government ones. So basically, the job of a UX designer can be summarized as something that makes everything seamless, I believe, on the screen, so that everything is in place and everything is easily navigable. That is what I understand.
Yeah, because we are in a world of digital things, and we have seen young generation coming and starting to use internet, even older generation as well, and to meet the needs of everybody, to give them the right experience they want, and whenever they are using a platform, they feel comfortable about using it, they trust the platform, and they are so comfortable to even use it, so that they are able to complete the task for what they have come on the platform. So yeah, it's a very important role within the ecosystem to play. Yeah.
Completely agreed. Completely agreed, Vatsala. All right. So moving towards the second question, what skill sets does a UX designer need? What do you think are the attributes that should be there in every person who is aspiring to get into this field to be a success?
Okay, so I will talk about first the technical skills, and then we'll come to soft skills when requires. So talking about technical skills, the first is one should be able to do user research. By user research, I mean he should be able to at least open about the research, open about gaining insights, and knowing exactly what's going on with the users. So he should be able to do some kind of research. Moving forward, next is wireframing and prototyping. This is a very must skill to have. The next one, I would say, the information architecture, right? So one should be able to concise the information in very consumable format, within the organization and for the users, and it's it need not to be very too complicated while you are designing flow. Then I would say the final and the most important in technical skills is visual communication. So it's a kind of heart of the UX, I would say. Like, no matter how great your idea is, no matter how, like, you found the perfect solution, but if you are not able to put it into a screen, right, which a user will ultimately see, that's the end result of all your, process you follow. By visual communication, I mean, one should be able to understand the importance of typography, the alignment, the layout, all these things. One should be aware about it. Forward for soft skill, one should be empathetic, and then one should be good with communication. One should be good with storytelling, wherever you are, presenting your thoughts, your solutions, or that should also reflect in your screens as well. A good storyteller always is a good UX designer, right? And then collaboration is also very, very important, because as a UX designer, you will be collaborating with a lot of team members of, cross-functional teams. So it's important to, to be open about collaboration, be open, like I said, open about the feedbacks. Then again, last, I would say creativity, like be able to think out of the box, and always looking for new inspirations. And yeah, that's, I get some of the skills required for a UX designer.
So it is a complete blend of everything from personal skills to social skills to organizational skills that goes into the making of a successful UX designer. Very, very good, Vatsala. So moving towards the third question, how does behavioral science correlate with UX designing?
Okay, so definitely behavioral science has a huge impact on UX designing. But to understand the correlation, it's important to understand what behavioral science is, or we say the psychology of design, and what's the impact in UX designing. And to understand, we can just talk about few of the principles of the behavioral traits we have, right? So very basic one is principle of least effort. So everybody in in the world, even not even humans, animals per se, also wants to put least efforts in any activity they do, right? So this is a behavioral trait, and we have to keep in mind while we are designing on our platforms. So this helps us a lot while designing, and it's crucial as well, because anybody coming on your platform using your product, he or she doesn't want to spend a lot of time. We have to design in such a way that it becomes the quickest thing for them to do. Another very basic example, I would say, habits, and that's again a behavioral trait. Another thing I want to add here is emotional aspect of behavioral traits, basically. So we use emotions in our design, whether we are telling a story, whether we are telling something went wrong, or whether we are congratulating our users while using their platforms. So it's always inspire them to keep using it. It always helps them in be motivated about it, and come back to the platform, so that they feel connected about it. So if they are not feeling connected, if they are not feeling comfortable on their platform, they won't come back.
Yes, and I completely agree. Since we are designing a product for the consumers, for the humans, then it is absolute necessity to study their behaviors, their maybe memory, their habits, as you clearly mentioned, and of course their experiences. So yeah, all things will definitely go in hand when you are creating something for them. All right, Vatsala, good going until now. All right, so the fourth question coming your way is, what is the importance of collecting and analyzing data to design the user interface?
Okay. So collecting data is important, equally analyzing, like you said. If you just collect the data, it won't be good enough. You have the data, but you don't know what to do about it, right? It's important, but how to do it, right? And how to move forward with it. So, and what data exactly you are looking into it. So yeah, as a UX designer, we always go for data, just reading the reviews on the platform, reading reviews of the Play Store, and reviews on other product specifications they have provided, like what's their needs, what their pain points. So this also come as a data, from the user side. Another type of set of data, basically like funnel drop, you look for the click rate, you look for retention, adoption, and this gives you an entire picture of how whatever you have designed, how that is performing. And without knowing that, you won't be able to improvise it, how good your feature is there, and if something is wrong about it, how you will get to know it. So you always get to know through data, and you get to know what is wrong, and then you dig deep and then find out why that is something wrong. So without knowing the what, you won't be able to reach the why of the problem, and hence data is very important to look into it and analyze.
All right, Vasila, thank you so much for that. Was a very crisp answer. Okay, so why is prototyping mandatory before launching the design? What does that model have to do with the actual outcome?
Actually, very good question. Many times designers forget about even prototyping, the feature they have designed. But I tell you why it's important and why it's crucial. Within the process of designing. So suppose you have designed a number of screens, right? Now, if you don't stitch them with the help of prototyping, that what prototyping is about, like stitching all the screens together, you won't be able to understand the flow, and you won't be able to know what's missing in the flow, right? Because you design screens in silos, but when you stitch it together, you know that okay, something is missing at this point, something is missing at at the end of the task completion. So all these things you get to know once you create a prototype. Secondly, it really helps you to do usability testing, like before even implementing any feature or any product. You can go out and talk to your users. You can just go with the prototype in your hand and just ask them to use it. So this gives you a lot of information about what's working or what's not working, and have you finalized the right solution of the problem, right? And and that's why it's important. It's not only important for you as a designer, it's equally important for your users and equally important for your organization, because one, it helps in convincing or giving them the idea what's happening, what you are building through prototype. It's always easy to show them. And secondly, it saves their cost efforts, and not only the designer's effort, but always the engineering team's implementation, the QA effort. So it saves a lot of money for them as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of improvising in the market where there are already some consumers involved and they can, you can see some of the drop rates, the falling number of customers. Instead, just test all that in the organization itself before giving the final thing to the customers. Great, great, great. Vatila. So moving towards the seventh question today, what role does empathy play in UX designing?
Okay. So I guess I also talked about in previous questions, but empathy does play an important role because it's the very first step in the designing process. You have to be empathetic with your users. You have to understand their problems. You have to understand their pain points, their goals, their motivation, what for what they aspire, and what's the end goal they are trying to achieve, and how you can pitch in and solve for it or help them to achieve their targets and goals, right? And if you are not empathetic enough, then you won't be able to find the right solution. And being empathetic always helps you to find the perfect solution, which is more sustainable than just finding out you believe in a solution and you think it might work for your users and you just build it, rather than you are empathetic, you are understanding your users, you know your users, you know about their demographics, about their behavior, their family, their day-to-day activities, all these play an important role. How you can be empathetic, and sometimes you can just go into the space they live or they work, and then you understand how they are feeling, how they are working, and then I guess it's the best way to give the solution out in the world to your users and then test it. So
So I totally get it that it is again to do with behavioral science. Understand them as well as you can and then give them the right thing.
Yes.
All right. That's a crisp answer, Vatsala. So moving towards the second last question we have here is, what are the few of the personality traits that are mandatory to become a UX designer?
Uh, so, as such, personality traits for becoming a UX designer is not, I would say, something like, you always have to work on your skills, and one can always, learn the skills which are required for becoming a UX designer. But since you asked, talking about some of the personality traits, I would say, uh, what I call be empathetic, be understanding, active listener. When active listener, I mean you have to be active listening the problem statement coming. You have to be active listener to to your users, and then you have to be active listener for the feedback coming in from from your own team, from other stakeholders. So yeah, active listening is a good to have the personality trait. And then moving forward, one needs to be like I said, curious about things, curious about the problems out there in the world, and then be creative about it. These are the things, I guess, which somehow what I say gets your attention in UX. And you, when you have these things, right, and then you get to know about UX, and then you work on the UX skills. So yeah, that's it.
All right. So, Vatsala, I frequently came across these two terms, UX and UI. So, I've been, trying to find out the difference between the two. But since you are a very experienced person, let's hear it from you. What is the key difference between a UX designer and a UI designer?
Okay, so yeah, I also do get a lot of queries around this, what's the difference between UX designer and UI designer, and many times people just ask can we become either one of them, or we have to know both the things, or what exactly the difference, right? See, UI is a part of UX. UI is one of the process, or one of the element which comes under the umbrella of UX. So UX means user experience. So when you talk about the user experience, it's their end-to-end journey, right from when your user is thinking oh, I have to do this task, right? So from that point, UX experience, the user experience starts. And UI comes whatever you see, the end result, the interaction your consumer, or say user, have it with the digital product. That's is the UI, how well they are able to navigate from one screen to another screen, and how well they are able to understand the screen, what they are trying to say. You have found the solution, but with the help of UI, you let your user to finish that job or the task they meant to do. So that's the basic difference. It's for everybody. UX is again it's all about the experience of the user, but UI is the interface you design for them, through which they can have a very good or smooth experience with your product.
All right. So, interface is just a very small picture of the entire big thing. That
Yes,
experience is.
crucial, very very crucial in UX. Yeah.
Sure. So, although we have majorly covered everything, but there is this final thing that I wanted to know from a
Mhm.
professional UX designer, that how do they actually calculate how successful they were on a particular project, on a particular design? How do you actually calculate that?
Yeah. So, the journey is not ending where you just design the solution, and you hand over to engineering team, and they design it. You have to measure it, whatever you have designed is working good or not, or it's actually having some impact in the user's life or not. And to do so, there are various methods, but I will talk about one specific method which I use, or over a period of time, I think that works best for my set of target audience. That is Google's heart framework. And basically the heart means H for happiness of the user, which you can always do some surveys, or you can do qualitative research and ask the users about their feedback. They're talking about their satisfaction with that particular feature or product you have introduced. Then comes E for engagement. So while the user is using your product, how engaged he was or she was, how much time one took in your platform, and uh, uh, how well he was able to do the task. So that's come about the engagement part. Thirdly, it's adoption. How many new users are using your platform, right? And how many times they are coming, or how many new users are discovering it, what you have designed. So that is adoption, and how well they are able to use it. Then comes retention. Retention is basically if someone has used your product once, are they coming back to reuse it? Okay, and how frequently they are coming back. So it's not just about talking about the unique users. You might attract some users to your platform or your product, but to keep hold of that and uh, motivating them, or the experience you are providing which let them come back and enjoy the experience once again, is crucially important. And lastly is the task success, which means that if somebody is on your product or your feature, uh, were he or she able to finish the task. For is like for e-commerce website, if someone is to purchase something, so whether one was able to find it, search the right product, and whether he or she made the final purchase, right till the payment was done. So all these things you measure and then define how good your feature or product is performing, or whether you were successful in designing the right solution or not, right? So this is one method. Another method which is also widely used is SUS, is system usability scale, where you just ask your users 10 set of questions, and then based on that you come with the score, and whatever the score is, you get the idea how well the feature is performing. And now I'm thinking more. Yeah, one very basic method is to get the NPS score. Just take all the feedback, whether they like it, or you ask your users to rate the feature. So all these things tells you whatever you have designed is the right solution for your users or not. So it's not good or bad. It always finding the right or perfect solution for them.
I didn't have any idea that you had so many metrics that exist to actually know such qualitative aspects like the satisfactory level, or maybe the satisfaction or happiness level of the people with the interface or with such experiences. That was
Yeah.
very enlightening, Vatsala, and thank you so much for answering everything in such a crisp and in such a concise manner. You have really opened up my as well as thousands of others' eyes as to such experiences and such platforms. We were very grateful to have you today with us, Vatsala, and we will definitely be taking this to each and everyone out there who has been aspiring to get into UX and trying to get some insights as to how you can actually walk and traverse the same path as you have been traversing for all these years. Thank you so much for being here today, Vatsala. We are grateful. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. It was a lovely session, and hope I was able to help other designers or aspiring designers out there. Yeah.
You
What
definitely
else?
were able to. It's our pleasure. Thank you so much.